Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in here. What I would absolutely love is if you could just in the comments let me know where you are watching from, where you're tuning in. And if you are currently in the wedding planning process, if you are already married and just tuning in for fun, if you are not near the marriage journey yet, but just want some fun information, let me know. So, good morning. If we have not met yet, my name is Kate. I am the owner and lead photographer of Clem Studios. We are a wedding and elopement photography studio based out of Wisconsin, and we work with couples all over the country and the world that are really looking to celebrate their beautiful love story in a way that feels truly authentic and emotional and candid to them. Today, I wanted to share some tips on choosing your engagement session location and also what to do if it rains. If you've been following along, we have been sharing a ton of information. 2020 is the year of showing up live and on video for us, and we want to serve you. If there are any topics that you would love more information about, you have questions on, please leave them in the comments because I do take that into consideration when I'm thinking about what types of Facebook Lives are going to serve you guys, what I should dive into, and what is old hat, and you guys are just already pros at it. So today is all about, like I said, your engagement session. When you are choosing the location for your engagement session, there are a few key things that I want you to think about. If you've listened to or watched any of these videos that I've done earlier in the year, you'll know probably what I'm going to say is choose a location that really resonates with you. Think about the experience that you want to be having during your engagement session. Because from a Clem Studio standpoint, your engagement session isn't just a time to get some professional pictures taken and put them on the save the dates and that kind of thing. Those are all very important, and I think there's so much value in getting a chance to get to know your photographer ahead of time, really having that emotional connection, seeing how they work. They can also see how you two interact as a couple. I think that is absolutely crucial. But for the two of you, what I think is the most beautiful part of an engagement session is that you get to create it in a way that lights you guys up, that makes you excited, so that both of you are looking forward to being a part of your engagement session. It's not just one person or the other. With that, I recommend thinking of activities that you guys already like to do together. Maybe it's hiking or walking your dogs or wine tasting or cooking together, whatever it may be. There are no silly things when it comes to your engagement session, at least for us there aren't, because our intention is to make sure that you are super comfortable and you're doing something that you two would actually be doing normally. It would be a huge disservice if every couple that came to us, we said, okay, we're going to do an outdoor engagement session. We're going to do it at this location. We do it for 45 minutes here, then we move to this next location. That is where all of our engagement sessions take place, and this is how we do it every single time. That doesn't serve you guys as a couple because that might not fit who the two of you are. If you're very outdoorsy and you like the national parks or any other ways that you want to celebrate outside, and we tell you, okay, we're going to put you in the middle of downtown Milwaukee or downtown Chicago, and you're going to be dressed up in a dress from Rent the Runway and a tux from Black Tux, and you're going to be just styled to the nines. That's probably not going to feel as good to you guys as if we had listened to your input of what matters to you, how you like to spend your time, and what your vision is for your wedding day, or sorry, for your engagement session. So with the engagement session, go into it thinking about the things that you already love to do together, because then you'll be really, really comfortable and so excited for your session. Now, for the locations, truly the sky is the limit. And I would highly encourage you to choose the locations that are on your heart. For Andy and me, we had two locations that were very important and special to us. So we did two engagement sessions. We did one up north at my family's cabin. We have a cabin on a private lake. We're the only ones on the lake, and there's about 40 acres surrounding that lake. So we were able to have our dogs be a part of it. It's a place that I have grown up on. My grandma lives there. My mom was up north taking care of her during our engagement session. So it was kind of a family affair. And it was just a very comfortable setting for us and laid back. We got to play in the water. Our dogs were a part of it. That's another huge thing is if you have furry friends that want to be a part of your session, we have to consider that when we're looking at our locations because not every location is dog friendly. So that was one way that we were able to bring our dogs into the session when we also knew that the second part of our engagement journey was going to be a destination engagement session in Colorado. Andy had never truly experienced Colorado before. He had flown out to Denver very early in our relationship and surprised me, but he had never been in the mountains. And Colorado has, I am just so in love with Colorado. I go out there, about once a year and often, usually not during ski season, just in summer or in fall, taking advantage of off-season rates, fewer people, quieter crowds. So I knew that I wanted to bring Andy to a place that means so much to me because I knew that Andy also has a love for the mountains, even if he hadn't experienced the Colorado Rockies yet. And we created an engagement session that way, where we hiked into a location in the Eagle's Nest Wilderness. We got all dressed up. I knew exactly how long the road was going to be, what it was going to take to get there. And it was a blast. I look at our images and can't even believe how amazing it was. It was so exciting. It was exactly what we wanted. And because I put that much thought and intention into the locations and what was important to us, who we wanted to be there, the kinds of things we wanted to experience, they were two perfect and beautiful engagement sessions that were really reflective of us as a couple. I can share that I was previously engaged, many of you know that, and when we were setting up our engagement session, we had wonderful photographers that we were working with. We were actually working with Casey and Ben Photography. Casey is my business bestie, and at that point, I didn't have a team with Clem Studios, so it was just very, very natural that Casey and Ben were going to photograph that first wedding. And that first engagement session, it was very beautiful. We went to an orchard in Door County, and I'm not quite sure how to articulate, but it was very beautiful, but it didn't resonate with who I was at that time or who we were. And that's totally on me because I completely asked for location suggestions and I didn't do the work to put in or vocalize, what actually matters to me. It's no fault on Casey or Ben or anything. That is solely my responsibility as the client, as the person in the photos, to determine what feels good to me. They did their job 510% because they gave location suggestions. They guided us through the whole way. But because I was creating in my head an engagement session that didn't resonate with that point in that relationship, I remember going to that engagement session and arguing in the car and then thinking about that throughout the session. And then they were very beautiful images that we got back. But each time I looked at them, I thought of, oh yeah, we were arguing on the way up and, I did this thing wrong or this happened. And that's totally on me. Only I know what is in my heart and what truly matters to me for an engagement session. So to save you from, potentially arguing in the car on the way to your engagement session. And the reason that I bring that up is not, it's nothing about that past relationship. I believe that that was coming up because on a really heart and soul level, I knew that I wasn't creating the experience that my heart wanted and that my soul wanted. And again, that is nobody's fault or blame but my own because I didn't take the time to think about what mattered to me and where I wanted to be, how I wanted that engagement session to go. So to do yourselves a favor on a really, really deep level, think about what matters to you guys, where you want to be, who's around you, what kind of experiences you want to be having. Once you know that, and again, the sky is the limit when it comes to your engagement session location. It could be here in Wisconsin, it could be in Colorado, it could be somewhere in Europe. Whatever you want to do, find somebody that will work with you to make that happen, because you deserve every single ounce of that dream that you are creating along your whole wedding journey. So once you know the types of things that you want to be doing and you have an idea of the backdrop, I would recommend that you choose 1 to 2 locations that resonate with you, even if you're going somewhere destination outside of the area that you're normally in. Unless it's something like, a hike or a town that has a lot of different diverse backdrops to it, I would still suggest having 2 locations that you can work with. When Andy and I were in Colorado, we shot in the Vail Township itself, and then we drove up into the mountains on the dirt road and bumped along and jammed up some music with our photographer, Krista, who is the Clem Studios studio manager, and then her friend Ashley that she had brought along. So we still had 2 locations there. So even if it's something local, especially if it's something local, I recommend having a diverse set of locations to pull from. 2 that are probably going to complement each other, but be different from one another. So if you're choosing a sort of outdoor location for one, then I would suggest maybe either something a little bit more urban, if that resonates for you guys, or in a coffee shop, or setting up a picnic, something that doesn't necessarily have the expansive green or whatever colors might be happening at that time. Something that's going to give you a little bit more depth to that session. So it's not just, one outdoorsy location to the next, unless of course they have very, very different features. There's really no right or wrong. These are just kind of tips and suggestions, but whatever is on your heart to create, go for it. I think the most important thing to think about is what matters to you guys, rather than, well, all of my friends did their engagement sessions at this park or with this backdrop, so I guess I'll do that. When really inside of you, you're thinking, we really like to cook together, and it'd be kind of fun to do an engagement session in our house, and then us snuggled on the couch drinking some wine. Again, no right or wrongs. Just really trust your gut and trust your heart, because you are going to be thanking yourself afterwards that you followed through. It's going to feel so good, and it's going to feel like just an elevated date night for you guys, where you do lots of snuggling, lots of laughing, and probably a lot of kissing. So once you have your 2 to 3 locations that resonate, that are just part of that dream engagement session that you're thinking about, I want you to consider the travel time in between each of those locations. Many photographers with an engagement session and a wedding day as well, they are setting that up with a certain amount of time coverage included. And ask your photographer if that time allotted for the engagement session accounts for travel or not. Some locations, Wisconsin is such a beautiful state. I reference Wisconsin a lot because that's where we're based. So the sky is truly the limit here in Wisconsin. We have lakeshore with cliffs, and then we have the bluffs on the western side of the state. We have beautiful north woods. We have somewhat rolling farm fields, a little bit more central and south. There are so many great backdrops. We could travel around the whole state of Wisconsin for a whole day, but check with your photographer, see what their travel stipulations are, that sort of thing, and if the time between locations is included in that time chunk or if that will be separate. And then finally, once you have those locations solidified and you know what your dream engagement session looks like, consider what it will take to get there. Is it just a matter of driving somewhere? Like if we're here in Wisconsin and we just want to drive up to Door County, maybe Cave Point County Park for your session, great. Then we just have to think about, cars and getting there and those sorts of logistics. Or if it's something like what Andy and I did for our engagement session, we of course had to fly out to Denver, then we rented a car, drove into the mountains, and I made sure to get us an SUV that had a little bit higher clearance, because I knew that the hike and where we were ending up in the Eagles Nest Wilderness, it was a dirt road that we were going to be bumping along, and it wasn't necessarily recommended for just a sedan. Some locations, you might need a helicopter to get in there if it's something really deep in the mountains, or if you're looking at maybe a glacier or something like that that you want to land on and take your photos. Do you need to take a train to get there? Is it guided only? There are some slot canyons in Utah where the only way that you can get into them is with a Navajo guide. So really look into what it's going to take to get to that location. And then also, do you need to be at a certain fitness level? Are you expecting to hike for 4 miles into the back country and then do your session and then hike 4 miles out? Or is it just a sort of lookout spot in a national park that's fairly popular, but you'll be able to just drive your car and park and step out? So think about what it'll take from you both physically and possibly financially, and then just transportation to actually get to your spot. Now, as far as what to do if it rains, there are a couple different ideas, tips, tricks, and schools of thought. My main commitment to our clients is to do whatever feels best for the client. First, I suggest having a backup location, something in the back of your mind if it's raining that this will be a great spot either with an overhang or it's indoors or something like that where it's still going to be a beautiful option. This could look like a coffee shop. Maybe you're friends with one of the local breweries and you just kind of reach out to them ahead of time and say, hey, would it be okay if we take some photos there? It could also be something like the Green Bay Botanical Gardens, where if you bring along some umbrellas, they have some spots that are covered that you could still get the backdrop of the gardens while being safely dry and under some sort of covering. So consider some backup locations. Your photographer can help you with all of this as well. I have a list in my head of some indoor spots in Green Bay that would probably have some availability if they don't have a wedding that they're working with at that time, that sort of thing. I also recommend bringing some umbrellas and some rain gear if you have it. I have a stockpile of clear umbrellas that I bring, but also having some sort of a jacket that's going to prevent any rain watermarks or droplets getting on your shirts, especially some men's dress shirts. Those can hold rain droplet shadows for a very long time, or even like dress slacks, some women's skirt materials, those sorts of things that can hold a lot of that water. So think about what your backup outfits might even be, or what you need to be wearing to get to that location if it's raining and if you're choosing to move forward with the session. If a couple is saying, hey, we'd like to reschedule, it's torrential downpour and there's tornadoes and thunder and lightning, absolutely. We typically do not set up a backup date ahead of time. So just check with your photographer what their preference is. We are just committed to finding another date that works and bending our schedules as needed. When it comes to weather, over the past 10 years, we've maybe had to push maybe 10 sessions, maybe 1 or 2 a year, something like that. So we either are just very, very lucky or we've made it work. Another great option is either to still arrive at your session and just wait it out a little bit. Ask your photographer if they have anything scheduled after you. Typically for an engagement session, we're setting aside that whole, morning or afternoon, kind of a half day chunk, just in case, not scheduling anything afterwards because we know that things can come up. So you could always wait in the car, see if it looks like it's going to lighten up, check the weather, just stay in contact with your photographer or with your couple, depending on who you are watching this video. Or you could always decide to play in the rain. I bring rain gear for all of my sessions, both for my camera and for myself, which has resulted in some really, really interesting situations, like 8-foot tall waves from Lake Michigan washing over the back of me, but thank goodness I had a rain jacket on. And also things like one of our dear friend couples, we were doing their engagement session in Rocky Mountain National Park, and it was raining and hailing and thundering and lightning. And the bride decided she wanted to go big or go home. So we went out and played in the rain for the last part of her session. And they are just adorable, emotional photos. And they're actually really, really romantic. Rain kind of adds that element of a little bit of, steamy, kind of like the Notebook feel to it, and just very, very adventuresome. So when it comes to rain, I recommend either a backup location in mind, bringing some umbrellas and rain gear for yourselves. We always have umbrellas, but we can't necessarily take care of rain jackets for you, rain boots, whatever it may be. So having your rain gear as necessary. Deciding if you want to still move forward with the session, wait it out a little bit, and just hang out in the car. Have a conversation with your photographer ahead of time if you want to reschedule or still try it out. And then, of course, always playing in the rain. I know that might not always be ideal. Our couples that work with us get their, or at least the brides do, they get their hair and makeup styled ahead of their session. So it can feel a little bit out of alignment sometimes to go play in the rain when you've spent that time to get your hair and makeup done. But it all depends on what your level of comfort is and what truly feels the best to you. Okay, those are all the tips for choosing your engagement session location and what to do if it rains. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Feel free to reach out to me, message me, email me. My personal email is kate@clemstudios.com, and I would love to answer any questions that you have. If you have anything that you'd like me to chat on in the future, certain topics that you have questions about, or you're just wondering, feel free to drop that in the comments as well. I do read all of those, and that definitely helps me craft the content that we're going to put out in the future. Okay, guys, stay healthy, stay safe, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a good day.